Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. Today in our Bible reading plan at First Baptist, we're continuing our journey through 2 Kings or 1 Kings rather, and also the book of Chronicles. Today we're in 1 Chronicles 21. 1 Chronicles 21. And the verse that really spoke to my heart when I read this story, and this is a well-known story about Naboth's vineyard that Ahab stole, is verse 20 when Elijah the prophet comes to him. And at the end, picking up in the middle of verse 20, he answered him. Elijah answered King Ahab, Elijah being the prophet, I have found you because you have sold yourself to do evil in the sight of the Lord. Look at that again. You have sold yourself to do evil in the sight of the Lord. Ahab wanted this vineyard owned by a man named Naboth that was located close to the king's residence. Naboth didn't want to sell it. Jezebel was a wicked queen, just like Ahab was a wicked king, and she just could not understand how in Israel, because remember, she was not a Jew, and she worshiped pagan gods and got Ahab to do that. I couldn't understand why Ahab as the king would not just take what he wanted. And so she conspired, and basically her and Ahab had Naboth wrongfully accused of crimes and found guilty of those crimes that would cause him to be sentenced to death. And so he was executed wrongfully. In other words, he was murdered. And they steal his vineyard that way. God, who sees everything, sends the prophet Elijah to Ahab with a very clear message of judgment. And God, through the prophet, said to him, you sold, notice this, you sold yourself. You sold yourself to do evil in the sight of the Lord. You sold yourself to have this vineyard. Does that remind you of something Jesus said in the Gospels? For instance, in Mark chapter 8, verses 36 and 37, Jesus said, for what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but forfeit his soul? What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and in the process forfeit his soul? And then Jesus added, for what will a man give in exchange for his soul? Ahab sold his soul, his life, for a vineyard. Did evil in the sight of God, and as a result, based on biblical evidence, right now is in hell and will be there forever. Sold his soul for a vineyard. And then Jesus asked, what are you willing to sell your soul for? And I have to ask myself, what am I willing to sell my soul for? And sometimes as people, we sell our soul by doing what's wrong because we want something. We want it so much that we compromise, we sell our soul. Other times we sell our soul by not doing what we're supposed to do. Maybe there's a situation in which we need to speak up and defend someone, but because we don't want to be at risk or we don't want someone to disapprove of us, we just remain silent, quiet in the crowd. And we sell our soul for approval or acceptance. We sell our soul for nobody thinking ill of us. Jesus really is preaching the same message that God sent to Ahab via the prophet Elijah all those years before Jesus, about 800 years before Jesus walked this earth, if you will. You have sold your soul to do evil in the sight of the Lord. And I think that's something for each of us to ponder when we're thinking about making a decision that we know is wrong because we want something. Whether it's something tangible, whether it's somebody's approval, whether we want to avoid risk. We need to be careful. We need to be asking, am I selling my soul for something? And in the process, doing what in God's sight is evil. This story is a cautionary tale for me, for you, for each of us. And it's something worth thinking about, especially as we begin a new year, 2023. Am I selling my soul this year because there's something I want more than I want God's approval? I don't know what's going on in your life, but I would encourage you to take some time and ponder that. Hey, God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow.